I want to describe something to you. Tell me if this sounds familiar. A situation happens. Could be, let's say, a difficult client emailing you, a deal falling through, a partner saying something is in the wrong tone, something small objectively. And your reaction is completely disproportionate to what actually happened. And this feeling of disproportionate would only be realized after you have already reacted after some time. The intensity of the feeling, the anxiety, the anger, the shutdown does not match the situation. But you cannot help, it just fires before you can think. And then 5 minutes later, when the charge settles, you look at what you just did and think. That is when you realize the whole thing that has happened. Why did I react like that again? Is this familiar? Does it sound familiar? What I'm about to share is the explanation you have been missing for all this while. For that, you need to understand what is an emotional charge and what actually does it mean. An emotional charge is not just a feeling, it's a stored, incomplete experience altogether. Now, here is how it forms. Something happens, usually in your childhood or adolescence, that generates a very strong emotion in you: fear, shame, rejection, overwhelming, etc. etc. But the environment does not allow that emotions to complete its natural cycle. Maybe you were told not to cry. Maybe you are supposed to, you suppressed it, to keep the peace in that moment. Maybe you were too young to process it and your system just stored it inside you. The emotions of all this gets compressed and stored in your body, not in your memory, in your body. And when in your nervous system, it gets stored deep down, preferably in a specific muscle group, in your gut, generally in your chest, and that it stays for years, decades, waiting until a situation in your adult life produces a sensory match to that, a tone of a voice, a feeling of being dismissed out of nowhere, a moment of uncertainty, a feeling of you not being heard by someone that is similar enough to the original event. It gets triggered like this. That stored charge releases. And when it triggers, the full intensity of the original emotion which was stored fires at that point. Not the scaled down version, a full blown kept inside emotion. The chunk of it comes out in one go. And that is why you react abruptly the way you do. Now, the full original charge, which is why a difficult client email can produce that same physical reaction as a childhood moment of being told you were not good enough. Your nervous system does not know the difference between the email and that memory. It just fires the charge because it is how it got trained, and it when it kept inside, when some similar scenario happen, it's just going to react the exact same way. Now, let me show you exactly how the stored charge runs the business decisions. Example 1: a founder who grew up with a parent whose approval was unpredictable, warm and encouraging one day, critical and cold the next day, develops a charge around inconsistency, equally danger. Fast forward to their business. Every time a client goes quiet after a positive conversation, their system fires the charge. Not as a mild concern, as a full panic. They send 3 follow-up emails. They discount before being asked. They do anything to resolve the uncertainty because their body is reacting as if unpredictability of childhood is going to come or is happening right now itself. And the whole scenario packaged in one. That is example 1. Example 2, a founder who has publicly embarrassed at school, laughed at, dismissed, made to feel small in front of people, in front of peers, anyone, develops a charge around visibility, equally humiliating. Fast forward in their business today, every time they need to create content, pitch to a new client, or post something personal, the charge fires not as a mild nervousness, as a full body response that feels like danger. This is why same founders have brilliant ideas and they never see the light of the day. Not from laziness, from an unresolved charge that makes visibility feels physically unsafe. I had this charge myself, uh, talking in front of the camera, talking, giving a presentation itself had become such a challenging work. And it was, the whole scenario was playing on repeat loop again and again until I broke it. And once I did, it changed so much in my life. I can't explain it in words. But the feeling after that, the letting go of that charge and coming out of that loop, was one step closer to my internal freedom. I can say that. Similar to this, I'll give you one more example. A founder who grew up in financial stress, watching parents argue about money, feeling the tension of scarcity, develops a charge around money. Equally conflicting and danger. Because fast forward to today, their business, every pricing conversion, every invoice, every moment of financial pressure is the business fires that original charge. And their decisions around money are never clean. They are always clouded by an emotion that belongs to a kitchen table argument from 20 years ago. Because deep down they feel, with money comes all this argument, with money comes all this emotional tension, negativity. So they have that scarcity towards it. They don't want to get involved in their subconscious mind with that money factor. Now, here is the part that most people get wrong. They think that understanding a charge clears it. It does not. Understanding is just the factor which comes after the awareness and during the awareness phase. You can know exactly where your charge came from, the specific event, the specific window, the specific belief it created, and still have it fired the next time the trigger arrives. Because the charge is not stored in your understanding, it is stored in your body, and the body does not update through logic. The body updates through completion. Completion means three things here: locating the charge with enough specificity that your nervous system recognizes the source. Simple as that. Second, you can say is feeling the original emotional fully rather than analyzing it from a distance, and consciously choosing a new meaning for that event. Not an affirmation, you can say, but a genuine adult reinterpretation of what actually happened at that time and what it actually means now. Because you operating from the same operating system of the past is going to ruin. If you install the new software, the software is just going to crash in this old OS system. You have to come from a new identity perspective. That doesn't mean you change it fully and we don't recognize who you are anymore and everything. You keep the elements, you just destroy this negative charges in you, and it affects the way it generates a good effect on you. You won't believe it. You'll only be able to believe it once it happens. And when all three happens, even partially, the charge starts to dissolve. Not overnight, but consistently. And each time it fires, after that, it fires a little less intensely. The way you reacted before to a conversation with a specific tone, you won't be. You will reduce that. Maybe you will find that hindering again a bit. But the overall charge it had on you, on your emotion, will be gone. And the gap between the trigger and reaction gets widen up. Your logic gets more time to respond before the charge completes, because right now you're not operating from that emotion which is bursting out of nowhere, rather from logic. What happens, because there is no gush of emotion coming out, your prefrontal cortex is not fogged, so it can take the logical decisions now. You can think that window, this even the small window is more than enough for your brain prefrontal cortex to realize, okay, this is how you need to respond, because it is not holding that charge anymore on you, that negative charge on you. And this is what I work on with founders in loop decode session, not the business strategy, the charge running underneath it. Because once the charge clears, the strategy starts working on its own. Believe me, I've seen it, I've done it, I've played it, because I was part of this loop too. And now I wouldn't say I'm completely out of it or anything, but I'm out of most of them. And I could see the progress coming out of each of them. It was wonderful. The feeling itself was so wonderful. And I also felt, not even felt, I saw that the thinking has changed so much that even if the small implementation of ideas which were not working out, a bit of tweaking from this new thinking changed fully. And I was like, why didn't I think this before? Because I was fogged in the head. Of course, I was not able to think straight. As simple as that. One thing I want to leave you with today is, the next time you react disproportionately to something in your business, do not judge the reaction. Get curious about it, rather. Because if you judge, then you start another negative cycle of self doubting, self analyzing, and everything. And then you go in another spiral all yourself. Rather, just wait. You reacted, okay, you reacted. Why did? From where it came? Just be curious about yourself. Because you need to know yourself, not anyone else. You are the one who is holding your hand throughout the journey of life. And ask, after that curiousness, is this reaction belongs somewhere? Where does it belong? Not in this client's email, not in the deal falling through. Where is the original event this intensity belongs to? A simple question you can ask. You do not have to answer it immediately. Just asking the question starts to create a space between the trigger and the reaction. And the space is where your freedom lives. Book a loop decode session if you want to locate and start clearing the charge running your biggest pattern right now. Link is in the bio below. Subscribe. Thursday and even this Tuesday, I'm going to go into something very specific, the charge that forms around money in childhood and exactly how it runs your pricing, your client relationship, and your revenue ceiling as an adult. I will see you then.